Michael wasn't the most skillful in the car. I've already said that was Lewis. But he knew how to extract every millisecond out of himself and every millisecond out of the team. He was a leader that absolutely, he would say, I'm going to go this way. The team would follow him there. So much so that both sides of the garage wanted him to do well. So much so that one of my regrets in my career is we didn't get a win for him. That still hurts me today. Yeah. He deserved a win.
And how did he take people on that journey with him?
A couple of things. So first and foremost, he had a genuine interest in who you were and your life. I went motorbiking on track with him, as in race bikes on track with him in Paul Ricard, and we had the time of our lives. We both still laugh about it for many years after that. He knew at the time my partner's birthday, flowers arrive at home, and it embarrassed me because I didn't do that much. He would take a genuine interest in who you are, who your family is, what drives you, every single person in the team. And that's hard to do. And it's not because he's doing it because he wants to gain advantage. He does it because he really cares. That's Michael. The Michael you had front facing in front of the media is a very different Michael to what was behind the scenes.
Right.
And that's how he did it fundamentally. So he would bring everyone on the journey and lead everyone on the journey. He would he would squeeze himself for every millisecond he had. He would work as late as he needed to, every hour he needed to. That was how he operated.
Right.
And Nico learned a tremendous amount from him. It formed the Nico that then became a world champion ultimately, which is squeeze everything out of you can at the cost of everything else.
Yeah. So much so you end up having to leave after winning that world title.
Yeah, exactly that. The sacrifice I talked to you about before that was painful to me, where you let go of family and friends and loved ones, he did for that year. And he decided, and all the respect to him for it, that actually that's not the life he wanted. Lewis just had these, just, as I said, it's this oodles of natural talent. And with him, he's got these tendencies and traits where when you go out in FP1, he's like an octopus all over the wheel. He'll change every setting on the wheel near enough and explore it. But it's what makes him incredible. And if I give you an example of it, there was a time where on simulation in Brazil, it said hold 6th gear up the hill. Going to 7th gear up the hill. And within 2 laps, Nico was doing exactly as we asked him to do. Within 2 laps, Lewis went, this doesn't feel right, back down to 6th, and was finding a 10th there. And it took until the end of the session before Nico saw the data and saw that. He's this optimizer that he'll use data as a starting ground, but he's got a feel beyond anything else for it. And he has no issue exploring the boundaries. And that originally manifested itself in, you'd often see him go off at turn 1. He'd find the absolute limit of braking and it would just push him wide at turn 1, then abort the lap. And one of our biggest frustrations with him was that out of 20 laps, he did 1. You're like, come on, you got to do more than that. And actually, if you look at the maturity Lewis had between 13 to now, you'll see he completes every lap. So he's now found a way of still gaining the experience of the remainder of the lap out of it. But he was this perfectionist that wanted, and braking was his strength, his forte, maximize everything under braking. And then I know the limits of the car, and then I can build from there and get into the rhythm of things. But his is, because he's explored all these boundaries, he knows in just a few laps in FP1, and he learns the track incredibly quickly, what the boundaries of the car is, what the limits are already within his tools that he has available on the steering wheel, which are quite fast for what it's worth, and understands therefore how to get the car into the right positioning for as the grip comes up. Very, very impressive. Where others are still just spending 7 or 8 laps learning the track, he's explored quite a bit of the boundaries. Now that came with some downsides often. Often he would change the car so quick on that you'd lose yourself. Certainly as engineers, it's difficult when your data's all moving, the track's moving, the grip's moving, the driver's moved everything on the steering wheel, you don't know where you are, and then he comes in and we've changed mech bell and aero balance. You think, okay, we're starting from scratch here, basically. And that's some of the reasons why at times you'll see Lewis drops backwards. And often when he jumps forwards again, he's gone to a setup that's known, and now he's back on the money. But he's able to do that, and many drivers aren't. He's able to explore off and accept they have a whole session, perhaps in the wrong place on setup, but he's learning from it. And that's Lewis all over.
So you have this time at Mercedes, 8 drivers, championships, 7 constructors, or the other way around?
Definitely 8 constructors.
8 constructors, 7 drivers titles. Yeah.
Contentious.
Yeah, okay, yeah. 8 constructors titles, 8 drivers titles, right? You can't say.
I can't say.
Don't answer.
No, I mean, it is what it is in the history books. Correct. But that was the time at Mercedes.
Yeah. And then you make the decision to walk away from one of the best on the grid to join at the time one of the worst on the grid. Please talk us through that decision-making process.
For for many years, I'd built up, first of all, a team behind me. So one of the things I've been focused on at Mercedes is I knew my long term wasn't going to be doing strategy for the rest of my life. Loved it to bits. It's a brilliant job. But for many years, built up a really strong team behind the scenes. And in fact, from around 21 onwards, the hard work was done by them. I was simply making a final decision, but the hard work was done by them or enacting more aspects of my job, including team orders, other aspects of motorsport, advising Toto, all that sort of thing. The reason being was that Toto was kind enough with his time to give me as much of his experience as he could. He knew where he was forming me towards. That doesn't mean I had a job within Mercedes to be a team principal there, but he provided me his time and his knowledge and experience and provided me more and more responsibilities. Back to what I originally described to you before, where if there's an opportunity, I'll grab it and I'll take it and I'll put it in at the cost of time and sleep and all the other things. So that started happening. So simulator drivers, then young drivers, then race drivers fell underneath me, then started working with our Formula E outfit, started working with our GT3 outfit, started working with elements of finance, elements of so on the cost cap and other bits and bobs, just kept pulling it in. Of course, you can't just keep doing. So what I did is not absolve the responsibilities, but build a team that just did all the strategy bits for me. And so I could focus on that growth. The direction of the path being clear, once you've based yourself out of engineering and you're focused a lot more about how the company runs, you have a better idea of how to step into this role. Not that I ever thought this role would appear, but if it did appear, I wanted to have the maximum amount of exposure so that I'd be ready to jump into it. Simple as that. Toto is incredible at what he does, no doubt about it, and has many, many more years as the best or one of the best team principals in the pit lane. And so it got to a point where I had to make a decision for my life, not for Mercedes' life. And that decision came when I very swiftly realized that actually I think the growth opportunities I have, the growth learning I have, I enjoyed learning tremendously, and that was slowing down in Mercedes. I can go into a completely different level by going elsewhere. And so I had honest conversations with Toto across that year period. It wasn't a big surprise to him in the winter. Yeah. And it's why also he was accepting of the fact that he let me move on. He wanted me to move on as well as a result of it.
Did he give you a particular piece of advice in going into the role that you could share with us?
I think he said, "Don't be shit," was his advice, which I'm trying to do. No, other than that, he knows that I'd been forming for this for quite a while, so there was little he could provide me above it. But even today, and not just him, I would say Fred and Otmar before he left, and a few others were guiding voices, Zach, where I can happily call them, even though they're adversaries, and not ask for advice, but they'll give me guidance on different things.